We don't think that.
What do you feel have like if you know is and that I'm sure takes some courage, right, to admit, right,
Yeah.
that I'm going through this emotion and I'm that you know the body has been shocked by grief. How do you share or you know with a person of how to start this process? How do you activate this process of healing, literally, of
That's a
or
great
moving
question.
on from that grief?
So if I was with a client in session, I would have them close their eyes and I would do kind of like a guided meditation, very short though, where I would just say, I'd help them focus on their breathing. And then I'd say, okay, I just want you to feel where in your body do you have a lot of tension? Where are you feeling the weight of the world?
Hmm.
It's not very often that when I ask that and they kind of feel my heart, my shoulder, whatever, that tears don't start to happen because it's finally they stop being up here and they
Mm-hmm.
go and they're like, well, where am I feeling the weight of the world? It's it's all on my shoulders, it's all on my heart, or I feel it in my stomach. I feel, and then when they tap into that, that's when I kind of say grief speaks to you. Grief is like, yeah, I'm here. I've just been waiting. I thought
Yeah.
hopefully that maybe those digestion issues would kick in and you'd
Yeah.
realize, but you took some medicine that's not helping or it's not making it better. Or I thought by being tense up here, you'd start to go, hey, maybe I should relax a little more. So grief speaks to us and says, I'm here in a physical way. The same as
Mm-hmm.
we all know when you enter a room when a couple's had an argument and you can feel the tension, you just feel the like
Yeah.
something has happened. We feel energy like that. We feel emotions like that without even needing to know what was fought about. We know something uncomfortable has happened, and that happens in our
Yeah.
body. We feel that there's something not right that's stuck, but we don't know how to approach it.
To release it, or approach it, or even to release it. I mean, not only to release it, but how to approach it to release it.
Yes. Yeah. So meditation, I feel like a guided meditation. Some people are like, well, I can never clear my mind. That's why I like doing guided meditations because somebody's talking to you to tell you what to do next so that you're not going, and then tomorrow I've got to pick up this, and then the next day I got to go
Mm-hmm.
pick this. And you're allowing yourself to go, let me focus on what it is I'm supposed. And then you
Sound like
start,
you were going. Sound like Katie. Sound like you were going through my shopping list. I
that's
have
what I
to
was like,
get
I was
this.
like,
I have to get. But but you're right. It's you know we especially women, right? We have so much to do,
yeah,
and a lot of times that list is not
yeah,
complete from the day yet, from yesterday, from last week, from last month. And so all of this extra energy, right? This extra weight is on our shoulders.
yes.
How do you help a person process that while they're going through grief?
While they're going
Because
through
they
grief.
just moved to another, like you mentioned, another country, changed a job, or someone passed. You know, how do you help? Because you know, I'm hearing the busy side, and I'm hearing that they're becoming busy because they don't want to deal with the grief side.
Yeah,
So, how do you connect those two?
yeah. There's a great analogy in the book For the Love by Jen Hatmaker. And she says it's like juggling. And some of the things you juggle are glass balls that if you drop, they'll break and you can't fix them, you can't repair them. And then some are rubber. And when you drop them, they just keep bouncing and maybe somebody else
Mm,
picks it up. And so what I do is I help clients decide what are the glass balls, because we'll convince ourselves everything is glass. But what really is my health, my family, like the
mm,
paying the bill, like certain things like that. And then what are the rubber things? Maybe that community organization I volunteer for. If you're in the business world, some of my social media doesn't have to be to the level it's at while I grieve. I can take a step
mm,
back. You look at those things like maybe I'm overdoing it with dinners being so extravagant and I'm stressing myself out for making something for 45 minutes when maybe I start to change that and make it simpler. And then it
mm,
becomes something easier, or ordering groceries online instead of going to the store, whatever it might be. You look at what's breakable, what's going to bounce, and then how you can simplify those things that you want to keep going. And those
Mm.
are huge. And I think a large part too is then asking for help and
Yeah.
saying to friends or family or getting support from a counselor or coach and going, I now know I need accountability to stick with
Mhm.
this, heal, and I need encouragement. Even if I don't respond to your text message, still check in on me every day. And
Yeah.
I, sometimes we don't even know what we need because we don't stop and ask ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, well, what do you need? You're like, no, I got it. I
Yeah.
got it. I don't need it. And you're like, I could
We have
use,
never done that. Yeah, we've never done that observation. We've never sat down to reflect on what's going on in our lives. Yeah.
we don't have to be superwoman. I think
Yeah.
it's exhausting.
And
But
I can only imagine some women that, like, they may see everything on their calendar as glass. You know what I mean? It's
right, right.
like
Yes.
everything is glass because I'm like, like they're so interconnected with every item on their calendar. you know, this is when you wonder, it's like, and then I'm sure for some, something that's glass is rubber for others, right?
Right.
A
Exactly.
person may that tending to the husband is like glass, and another one say, hey, he's just like a rubber band. He'll bounce back, let me,
Right. He'll
so
start
it
making
just,
dinner.
yeah, you make, yeah, exactly. And then other ones, they feel like they have to be the one making dinner.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, right? What
Yeah.
we connect to and what we feel that's important, and connecting that even to the existing chapter. And then the interesting thing is, like, as you mentioned, is like sometimes we'll move to another chapter and we don't want to be in that chapter. We
Right.
want we want to be back into that. We want to be in the chapter that was existing. It was good for us. It was
Right. It was
great.
more fun back there. Yeah.
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 So
Definitely.
what inspired you to, thank you for sharing that, and of course, apology for your mom, and
Right.
but you were able to take this strategy, this tragedy in your life, and now it's something that you're helping others go through. What inspired you to take that for others, like take,
Yeah.
to be able to help others with it? What inspired you?
I've always sort of been this way, but honestly, a part of it is, living the legacy of my mom. And
Mm,
one of the last text messages she sent me a couple days before she died was just talking about, because at that time I was working a lot with moms and like really helping them to feel a sense of identity still, and take better care of themselves, which was something she didn't do as a stay-at-home mom very well. And
mm,
she was talking about, and she I think she said the word we are going to help so many women really improve like how they
oh,
believe in themselves. And that then when she died was like, it's still a we,
yeah,
because when
yeah.
someone passes, it's I heard this wonderful analogy, and being pregnant, it touches my heart because when you're in the womb, you don't have a clue that just, inches away are human beings. There's lots of them,
Yeah,
they're putting
yeah,
their hands on, like you don't have that concept. And when people die, what if it's like that too, that we don't have that realization that they're here around us,
yeah,
they're still supporting, they're still cheering us on in whatever spiritual form you want to believe. But what if it's like that? And I've always felt that way. So to hear an analogy like that was like affirming, yeah, I feel like the
yeah,
biggest cheerleader of my life is still around and going,
yeah.
we're going to change the world. We're going to change these women. We're going to change grief. We're going to change.
That's beautiful.
And
Yeah.
so it never left. And that I would say is an empowerment that my parents and really my mom gave me from childhood.
Mm,
You're
that's
here to do
beautiful.
great things. So
Yeah. That's awesome. And how do you see, when you're working with women that are going through this next stage of shedding, for something, sometimes it's just shedding
yeah,
of those experiences that's causing grief. Like, what have you seen that happened in transforming these women's lives?
it's like they can live a more simple life and not feel anxious or nervous about it. Sometimes when we
Mm,
like clean out our calendar, we're like, I have nothing to do. Like no one wants to spend time with me. There's something wrong. and we feel it, they're at ease
Yeah.
having space. They're at ease
Yeah.
being alone with themselves. And if anything, it helps them step into like an empowered role of what they want to do in their lives, what they want in their relationships, what they want for their family. So
Mm.
it's everything we all talk about wanting to have happens because they go through the journey. And the problem is so many of us just don't, because we're kind of scared of. You mentioned those people who feel like everything on the calendar is a glass ball. That helps us feel needed.
Yeah.
You know, it affirms for us that we are needed, we are wanted, we're important. It has nothing to do about what actually the events are. It's
Mm.
about our own insecurities. And so once we
Yeah.
start to see those things don't actually fill the void of wanting to be needed and wanted and matter, in the world, and we start to see we have to fill that for ourselves, then we stop looking for it in other relationships or from our kids who
Yeah.
are too young to say thank you anyways, or from work that just exhausts us. We start to say, okay, I believe in myself and I matter, and
Yeah.
I don't need to fill up my schedule.
And what's interesting, what you're sharing is a lot of times those who are looking at the calendar as full of glass, they're not included in the calendar, are they? They're not glass.
No, exactly. And they treat themselves like a bouncing ball. We're not. We're part of the
Yeah.
glass. We're part of the glass. This is why burnout, especially this year, is so heavy because
Yeah.
people are so worn out. This has been a heavy year of emotions and thoughts and understanding the world differently. It makes sense that we're all feeling just exhausted.
Yeah. Like the world has turned to a big glass itself, isn't it?
Yeah, completely. It's such an interesting time. But the cool thing is, it's nobody's going